the world is not existing in you. You are existing in the world, and in that world there's many moving parts and you are not the only thing. And I think just getting out of your head and knowing that there's more to life than your problems can be huge in terms of getting a perspective shift and getting your brain to focus on something other than your own inadequacies and problems. Oh my god, trying to get my camera to focus just now was worse than serving in the war. Oh my god, I'm about to enlist again. Okay, please. Okay. That seemed like such a fake laugh. I don't know if this lighting is the most flattering, but I'm kind of have reached a point in my life where I don't really care anymore. I don't know if it's getting older. I don't know if it's being in a relationship where I feel like I can be myself. I don't know what it is, but I can't really worry about being beautiful all the time because it's kind of like, I have other things I need to do. I kind of have other things going on. Not a lot of things, but you know, enough. Do you hear how squeaky my bed is? Like, but anyway, not worrying about the shadows and if I look good or not. I can't. Mama has other things to do. But that dovetails nicely with the concept of this video, which is, you might be thinking about yourself too much. Yeah, maybe. And I feel like if you're struggling with, you know, your mental health, if you're struggling with how you look, if you're struggling with, yeah, I guess just those two things, or if you're feeling like you don't measure up in some way, or if you're feeling like, you know, you're not reaching your goals fast enough, my genuine advice is to stop thinking about yourself so much. And I don't mean that in like a self-centered way, but I will say at the times where I have struggled most with my depression and anxiety and eating disorders and self-image, if I had just turned the attention away from myself a bit more, I think I could have saved myself a lot of trouble. Because the thing about your mental health is it is inherently self-centered in some ways. And I don't mean that, again, I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, you're a narcissist. I don't mean that. I mean that when I've been the most depressed and the most anxious, it's when I'm thinking about my own problems and when I'm spending so much time in here and not enough time out here. But people talk about how doing good for others also helps you feel good about yourself, which raises the question of like, is anything truly altruistic if you know that doing something morally good is also gonna benefit you? And I think that's one of those things that we don't need to really think about a whole lot right now, because if you're in a place where you're struggling so much mentally, what you need is probably therapy and medication, but also to get out of yourself and to do something for someone else. Ask someone else how they're doing. Like, if you're really in a bad spot, yes, you can reach out to people and talk about what you're dealing with, of course, but sometimes what you need to do is just talk to someone and be like, how are you? What's going on in your life? You know, what's something that can help my problems feel a little bit smaller? And I think a huge part of that is realizing that you are not, the world is not existing in you. You are existing in the world, and in that world there's many moving parts and you are not the only thing. And I think just getting out of your head and knowing that there's more to life than your problems can be huge in terms of getting a perspective shift and getting your brain to focus on something other than your own inadequacies and problems. And I also think that, you know, if you're struggling with your self-image and how you look, like say you're struggling with feeling like you're not pretty enough or like your body's not good enough, it's kind of like we can easily let those things become such huge problems and take up so much space in our brain, when really we could be putting that, like, what if we put that energy that we spend hating ourselves and thinking we're not good enough, what if we took all that energy, because that does take energy. I know it feels passive and it feels like the default to think about how horrible you are and how awful your problems are and how, you know, terrible your life is. It can feel like the default. That's because that's what you've been doing for so long. And what we repeatedly do obviously becomes habit. It's like when you hear your friend is like wanting to buy a certain car and then you start seeing that car everywhere and you're like, what is going on? It's not necessarily because that's happening more, it's because you're noticing it more and you're tapped in and caring about it. And a lot of mental health is which neurological pathways you're exercising the most. Are you exercising the part of your brain that's looking for ways that you're inadequate, and ways that your body's not good enough, and ways that you don't measure up, and ways that you're horrible and not good enough, and all these things? When if you're scanning for all the reasons that you are good enough, and for all the things about you that are wonderful, and all the things that are going well in your life, it can make a huge difference. And I'm not, listen, I have struggled so much with mental illness, and I know that what I'm saying does not apply to everything. I don't think this was necessarily super applicable for when I was really struggling with OCD, and there will be things that this doesn't apply to, and there are things that are bigger than this, and things that don't just go away because you stop thinking about them. And so I want to make it super clear that the reason I got to a stable point isn't because I changed my mindset. Like, yes, that was part of it, and I don't want this to sound like woo, like nature is my medicine, like running is my antidepressant, because it's like, no baby, clomipramine, fluvoxamine, and my old therapist Georgiana are the reason that this ship is still running, okay? And so I don't want to discount the validity and sometimes importance and necessity of getting mental health treatment. This is just for things that are a little more minor, you know, like for, oh, you've been feeling really sad for the last week, or you feel like you're focusing on so much of what is wrong in the world, and you feel like you hate your body, or like things like that. That, not, I don't want to say that those are minor, but I just want to make it clear that like changing your mindset is not going to change some things, you know what I mean? Like if someone close to you just died, or someone just broke up with you, it's kind of like, okay, you got to let yourself go through those things and experience being a human who has emotion. And there are times when you need to feel it out. You need to feel that sadness, feel the grief, feel what you're going through, because if you don't feel things as they come up, you will pay for that down the line. But I also do think there's a lot of validity to the idea of which neurological pathways you're training, which sort of like muscles in your brain they're not muscles, but which muscles you're working on, and when it comes to your thoughts, because there are some cycles that you can break, and you can retrain your brain to focus more on the good things in your life, more on the ways that you're good enough. And I also think a huge part of what helped me feel better was getting outside of myself, because when I'm spending all this time thinking about myself and thinking about my problems and my life and all the things not working out for me, I'm ultimately spending a lot of time thinking about myself. And I think a lot of mental health can be very self-centered. And it makes sense because we're the ones experiencing it, and we're obviously the main, not to be like the main character. Everything happening in here is influencing how we live every single day. And in that sense, we are the main character of our lives. Like, we're the ones experiencing everything that happens around us. But I think that can really take away from what's going on around us. And like a huge piece of advice that I have, if you feel stuck in here, is you need to get out here. You need to be connecting with the world around you, and with your community, and with the people you love, because every second that you spend thinking about yourself is a second that you are not spending thinking about the world around you and the people in your life. And this is the 4th video that I've filmed today, so I feel kind of crazy and like I might not be making the most sense, but basically get outside of yourself, get into nature, listen to a podcast or read a book, talk to the people you love, talk to the people that you don't even know, talk to the person who's like ringing you up at the grocery store, you know? Connection is just everything, and connection makes us feel so much less alone. And it's not just connection with other people, it's connection with the world and with nature and with animals and with things and ideas outside of ourselves. So I'm gonna cut myself off there and say, Grace, you cannot film any more videos today. You're cut off. You don't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. But I just wanted to share that word of advice, is that you might be thinking about yourself too much, and your life might open up in unexpected ways if you start putting some of that energy that you've spent thinking negative things about yourself and your life and your problems your life could improve so much if you put that energy towards things that are actually productive and that get you connected to the world around you rather than isolated and in your head and thinking about everything wrong with you and your life. Okay, that's all I got. Good night. I don't know, it's nighttime for me. I think I meant to say thank you for watching and goodbye. I don't know why I said good night, but good night. Do you see how I have these pimples in, maybe not, like in my eyebrows? That's so satisfying when you have one in your eyebrow and you pop it. Okay, anyway, good night.